So we'll just start with the weather. See what's happening there. Looks like snow is probably pretty much gone for today. We might have a little bit of scattered showers throughout the day, but the high will be 47 degrees with a low of 23. So it's going to freeze again. Hopefully, you haven't planted too much in your gardens yet. That should put a damper on things. My biggest concern is all the fruit trees and things like that. They're all starting to blossom, and that could cause some serious problems with a hard freeze. Tuesday is going to be sunny with a high of 55, low of 25. Should be clear and nice. Wednesday, same thing. It's going to start warming up throughout the week. Wednesday a high of 60, Thursday a high of 65, and by Friday we're back up into the 70s, and doesn't look like we'll have any more major moisture throughout the week. But yeah, should be a nice spring. Hopefully after this we won't have any other hard freezes. It'll still get down to 27 degrees Thursday night, so we're still a little ways away from planting much more than, I don't know, onions. That's all I've planted. Hopefully they don't die. So, community events. We've got the 5K 2-2 run, annual benefit run coming up on Saturday the 3rd. Looks like it's a fundraiser by the Wasatch Dance Center. And if you ever have any events that you want to make sure that we let people know about that are coming up for the community, please let us know. This top stories, there are a few different things going on in the world. Here in Heber Valley, not a whole lot that's going on right now. I'm sure there's the regular number of domestic issues or whatever, but we did have one of our former officers gets a little bit of a well, I guess you wouldn't say that he got shot, but you kind of would. Got hit by some ricochet in an altercation out in the basin with a person high on methamphetamine. I think he's doing all right. Just got hit in the hand a little bit, and everything seems to be all right. But other than that, things seem to be pretty mellow here. Down in Salt Lake yesterday, they had a standoff with a man out on I-15. He apparently was wanted in connection with a murder in Louisiana, and they realized who they had and pulled him over. And see, it says there were a couple of other adults with him. The adults got out of the car, and he was in the back, and there was a child involved. There was a child in the car as well, and so the other two adults get out of the car, and he jumps into the front and takes off, leads police on a high-speed chase with a child in there. Luckily, they were able to disable his vehicle before anyone was seriously injured. But then they, of course, had a standoff. He threatened to harm the child, and looks like it shut down the highway for a few hours there. Luckily, eventually, he gave up, and they took him into custody, and the child seems to be uninjured. The 2-year-old, I guess it was, and everything seems to be okay now. So hopefully he'll be sent back to Louisiana and face whatever he's got going down there. Couple of other things I wanted to talk about. It's kind of I guess I want to just talk about myself just here for a little bit. I don't find myself very interesting, so Sandy had to remind me, tell everybody who you are. So my name is Mike Hewlett. I've never done this radio thing before, other than I was on Danny Good's show a couple of months ago. And that was a great experience. And next thing I know, Danny's saying, "Well, what do you think about taking over? I can't do my show anymore. I'm running for county council, and I don't know. Somehow it just went really fast. I don't know how I ended up here in this chair, but here I am, and I'm excited. I really am. So I guess a little bit about my history and everything here in the valley. My parents are both from Salt Lake City. My mom went to Highland High. My dad went to East. Uh, have a great history down there in Salt Lake. I have my grandfather on my mom's side was a well-respected dentist and big developer. Built the twin or not the built the American Towers down in Salt Lake and a number of other projects like that. Eventually, the reason we ended up here in the valley is he ended up developing the Interlochen development, and so that's what ended up bringing our family up here. And I'm so grateful that he did that. I have really enjoyed growing up here in the Heber Valley, watching it change and grow and being a part of that. I feel like we are very blessed to be up here in this beautiful place and be kind of above the fray of the big city. Um, so anyway, on my dad's side, we have former heads of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir and lots of great history down there in Salt Lake. But we ended up, my parents were going to build a home as just a spec home in the Interlochen development. And they were not home builders. They had really no idea what they were doing, but it sounded like a good idea on paper. So they started building this cabin up there, um, and ran into challenges and difficulties like we all do when we build something. It's an inevitable part. I think theirs was maybe a little bit more challenging than normal, but they ended up needing to sell their home in Salt Lake and move up here to finish the home. And then the plan was sell it and move back down to Salt Lake, and that never happened. We never went back. So I really had a great childhood running around the hills up there in Interlochen, and then we eventually moved down into the valley. Uh, lived in the We lived in Grant and Marna Patch's home for a couple of years while they were serving a mission, an LDS mission, and then we eventually bought the home. It's known kind of as the old Van Wagner home or whatever. I don't I don't even really know why. I guess they probably built it, but anyway, it's that crazy house over there, a couple of houses down from the Memorial Hill. It has an elevator in it, which is just bizarre. I think that one of them was in a wheelchair, so when they built it, they built all the hallways extra wide for a wheelchair and an elevator to get from level one to level two. Probably one of the only elevators in the valley, though. I can't imagine there's many more than, I don't know. There's probably five, maybe. I don't know. So it's kind of interesting to have an elevator. Uh, no, it's very temperamental, and we've kind of given up every time. It's hundreds of dollars every time you need get someone to figure out why it's not working, and you'll occasionally get stuck halfway and be locked in there until someone comes and finds you. So I've kind of given up on the elevator, but it's got an atrium in the middle. It's like a square donut. It's really strange. It's got outside, inside the middle of the house, and anyway, our friends used to own the house and live there, and it's kind of interesting knowing the history of the house and what it was like. The basement was completely unfinished before, and they had chickens in the atrium in the middle of the house and stuff like that, and it was it was pretty crazy, but anyway, so that's where we ended up, and tried to make that a nice place with nice landscaping, and tried to update the look a little bit. But anyway, it was a fun place to grow up. Um, I served an LDS mission at 19 in Tokyo, Japan. Then came home, went to school at UVU I thought I was wanted to be an airline pilot. Uh, got through, got my instrument rating, and I was in about, I don't know, $15,000 into the whole process, and ended up getting married, and realized that it was just not very conducive to a family life. They're uh, they're gone a lot. There's a lot of stress, and the industry had just fallen apart. I mean, there was nothing. When I got into the training, you had these expectations of eventually having a job where you worked 5 days a week and made $300,000 a year. And within a year or two, this was right after 9/11. Within a year or two, everybody that could retire from the military did, and flooded the market with very capable um, pilots, and everyone that was retiring from, uh, you know, there was supposed to be this big, massive departure of airline pilots, and they got taken up by all those jobs got taken up, and then of course everybody stopped flying, and gas prices went up, and it just the industry just fell to pieces, and it'll never quite be what it was. It'll still be an okay way to earn a living, but a lot of stress, and the income I don't think will ever quite recover, and that's fine. I mean, it's so anyway. I got out of that. Um, Decided I wanted to follow in my dad's footsteps and become an insurance agent. That lasted maybe 6 months. I don't know. I went and took all the tests, and then it was basically, okay, we'll go out and figure it out at 22 years old. Go try to sell insurance to people. I really didn't know what I was doing. Dad was busy running his own agency, and handling a few hundred agents, and I was just kind of, I was going to school and just trying to, I don't know. It didn't last very long. And being young, it's hard to get people to take you seriously. So I got out of that, went back to school for a little while, and then got into retail, and kind of bounced around in retail for a little while. Realized I didn't want to sell my soul to a retail situation, which I really feel for everyone who works in retail. That is a very, very, very difficult industry to work in. The hours are ridiculous. They never seem to be closed anymore. Even when they are closed, they're still making everybody work. Holidays are almost non-existent anymore. Yeah, and you're at the mercy of your customers, and customers aren't always very patient, and they aren't always very kind and understanding. So that's a challenging industry, and I decided that it was not for me, and finally got a great opportunity to get back into the insurance industry, and I've been doing that for the last 5 years, and have my own agency. It's just me right now. Um, and really enjoy helping people. I really enjoy educating people, helping them understand. Well, yeah, helping them understand the ins and outs of just finance, and insurance, and the truth of it. Unfortunately, in this industry and in a lot of industries, there are a lot of unscrupulous people who will do or say things that they wouldn't normally do or say in the name of surviving, really. It's a very challenging industry to get into and to survive in. You hear a few statistics bounced around, but typically we say that it's about an 87% failure rate in the first 3 years, and then it's something like 93 or 95% failure in the first 5. So it's a real challenging industry to get into, and it leads to, I think, a lot of desperation, and I've been in about five, so I'm just getting there. I'm just trying to survive. Um, so anyway, but I really enjoy helping people and trying to make sure that they um, have as much information as possible to make good decisions for themselves and that they're protected from things that from negative things that can happen sometimes. Um, so I guess that's kind of all there is about me for now. There's not a whole lot more to say. I really am not that interesting. But I do have a lot to talk about. Anyone that knows me knows that I enjoy talking, and I don't have any shortage of interests. It becomes a challenge for me at times because I'm torn between wanting to know everything about a subject and or become really good at a certain thing, but also I want to do everything. And so, um, someone who is, let's take the guitar for example. I enjoy playing the guitar. I picked it up a few years ago, and I'm terrible, but I really enjoy it. And I would love to become a very accomplished guitarist, but that takes a lot of time. I mean, you can't have 50 other hobbies. You have to spend, you know, you can become fairly proficient by practicing an hour a day or something like that. But if you want to be really good at the guitar, you got to practice 4 or 5 hours a day. And that doesn't leave time for really anything else. So if you see someone who is really good at guitar, they just do that a lot. They could play the guitar all the time. And that's the same with just about everything. And I enjoy doing too many different things. And but that'll be good for this because I have interest in so many different topics, and hopefully we'll be able to go over all those things. We've got another quick community event that we need to talk about. We have Country Dance Night coming up Saturday, May 3rd from 7 to 11 p.m. We're gonna have they're gonna have Ed Burns as the country dance instructor. It'll be at the Parks and Rec building, and I guess the rec center. I'm assuming.
Yeah, the rec center.
And then looks like it costs $8 for a couple or $5 general admission, and it will be catered by Dickey's Barbecue, and it'll be for people 18 and older, so no children at that dance. That's
But it's
that's good.
community
It's
dance.
great. No, I think it's great.
We used to have, I guess, a lot of them in the community,
Right.
like any small town.
Sure.
And I think we need to get back to that. Sharice is one of the ones who came in with that. So I thought, sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think that's good. You don't have many opportunities to do stuff like that anymore. We don't have community events like that as much, and it's hard to get us to leave the kids at home and go do something for ourselves sometimes. But
Well, he's going to teach us how to line dance, which I think is so much
sure, yeah, yeah, that'll be good. I think that'll be great. And then of course, dancing. It's hard. It seems like the only opportunities you have to dance anymore is if you want to go to a club,
fun. Right.
and you go to a club and there's lots of alcohol involved, and it's not exactly what a lot of us are looking for. So that should be a good time. Um, so because I have a lot of interests, we'll probably talk about a wide range of topics, um, and we'll talk about stuff that probably you aren't used to hearing about. We'll talk about sports a little bit. We'll talk about a lot of non-political stuff, but we'll still talk politics. We'll still talk about what's going on, um, and we'll just try to have fun with it. We'll try to learn together, and we'll try to maybe laugh a little bit together, and just try to enjoy it and just have a good time here from 9 to 10 in the morning. Let's see. So I have this thing on Twitter that well, I have a couple of different ones, but they just they send little random facts that are just kind of interesting. Some of them are, uh, you know, Twitter being what it is. Some of them are sometimes a little bit inappropriate, and we'll leave those ones be. But some of them are really pretty fascinating. And one I picked up on the other day says if Walmart were a country, it would be China's sixth largest export market, which is
Wow.
that's pretty intense. That's it makes you realize not only how enormous Walmart is, but it also makes you realize that you know where everything comes from that you buy there. Um,
Yeah.
I remember back in was it the I think it was maybe the early '90s, mid '90s, that there was this huge push um, that everything in Walmart was made in America, made in the USA. That was really they were really trying to get us to support them because they were supporting local industry, local businesses, and supporting things that were made here in the United States. And then I don't know. I guess
San Wall died.
yeah, Sam, that's right. Sam Walton passed away, and everybody saw big dollar signs coming out of China, and so
Hmm.
that's that's where we went with it, and now they are a huge exporter, I guess, and it's kind of a shame. The United States has had a serious drop off, obviously, in the last 20 or 30 years in manufacturing and industry, and we're gonna. I don't know if we're gonna be able to recover that at some point, recapture that. That's was the lifeblood of our country. That's a big part of why we became the powerful nation that we're still clinging to, because we had so much to offer, and now it seems more and more that all we have to offer is shoppers. I mean, we buy a lot of stuff, but we don't really make a whole lot, and that's I
I
don't
think
think
for
that's where
small
we
small
eventually
businesses
want to
still
be.
there. I think it's hard though.
Sure, yeah, there's no question. It is difficult, but there are a lot of great entrepreneurs and innovators and inventors, and hopefully, we'll get a chance on this show to highlight a lot of those, a lot of local businesses that are doing great things, a lot of our former residents that have gone on to great big things, and we'll be able to talk about all the cool things that are happening. So, do you want to talk about sports here for just a little bit? The NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs are going on. Um, I'm not a big NHL guy, but I know there are some people out there. Uh, right now, let's see, we're in the middle of the first round of the NBA playoffs. Last night, Washington beat Chicago 98-89, and the Wizards lead that series 3-1. Who would have ever thought a couple of years ago that the Wizards would be where they are? But good for them. They're really taking it to them. Golden State and the Clippers played. There's a lot of controversy going on right now about that. It's it is an ugly situation out there in LA. If you have not heard, the owner of the LA Clippers was allegedly recorded, and the recording was released to the public of him going on a tirade to his mistress about who she associated with because of the color of their skin, and it's really odd because she herself is half Mexican and half African American, and so I don't quite understand the dichotomy there, but he went on a tirade and said a lot of horrible, hateful things, and or allegedly so, and they haven't confirmed that it's his voice on the recording, but you know how that goes. Um, and it's it's a fascinating situation because here you have this group of professional basketball players who most of which are African American to one degree or another, um, and the man who signs their paychecks is allegedly horribly racist. Um, and the more you hear, the more people keep coming out with stories about, yeah, well, he's done this and he's done that and he said this and he said that, and we all knew he was like this. Um, so a lot of people were kind of expecting the Clippers team to take a stand and say we're not gonna tolerate this. We're not gonna put up with it. I think it would have sent an incredible message if they just said, hey, we're not gonna play this game until something changes. Uh, we're not gonna put up with it. But I think money won out in the end.
Well, I have contracts.
Well, they do, but I think they could probably pick up.
Boycott that.
I think they could. I think they could pick up a job just about anywhere with as good of a team they have. But yeah, they kind of did this silent protest thing. They went out and put their jerseys in the middle of the floor and wore their warm up shirts on backwards or something, and it was kind of silly. And then they came out and laid an egg. Golden State just tore them up, beat them 118-97. That series is tied now at 2 games apiece. And I think that this story is going to continue to permeate this entire playoffs. That's not gonna it's not gonna go away soon. Yeah, it's I don't know if people can hear you over there, Sandy,
Oh,
but I think they can.
I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm in
there
the
you go.
background.
All right. So I don't know. I don't know why we still struggle so much with this race issue. I mean, I think that this Donald Sterling, who's the owner of the Clippers, his generation is slowly dying out, and
He's probably my generation, which was just coming into who we were when the big civil rights thing was
sure,
hitting.
sure, and there was still really rampant racism in a lot of parts of the country at the time.
Still is. It's amazing, but it's true.
Yeah, and
Hard to believe. I still can't wrap my head around it.
yeah, it's really strange. I don't. It's not something that I was ever really faced with. I never felt that.
Yeah.
Personally, and so I don't really understand it as far as having a sense of superiority over a race of a group of people because of the color of their
The
skin.
melanin in their skin.
Right.
I mean, just
Right.
hello. It's like if
Um,
your eyes are blue, we hate you. If your eyes are brown, we love you.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
like what?
yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that we can all become a little narcissistic and egotistical at times, and feel this self-importance and feel like we're better than other people for one reason or another. And uh, you know, I think I can wrap my head around someone feeling superior because of their intellect. They feel like, oh, I'm smarter than this group of people, so that makes me better. I don't agree with it, but that's I can wrap my head around it because they have something to show that this is why. I, you don't have that with skin color. There's nothing there's nothing there to say
not a
this is
logical
why.
thing,
It's
yeah.
completely logical. And so yeah, it's really strange. Now, on the to go along with this issue, um, the Supreme Court recently, the U.S. Supreme Court recently ruled. Let's see if we can find it here real quick.
You know, Mike, sometimes people feel that way they do because their parents did so strongly and they instilled that in them. And it's, that's just the way they were raised kind of thing.
Yeah, there is absolutely no question that that a lot of that behavior is, well, that behavior period
Yeah.
is a learned behavior, and we're taught to feel that way. And it's tragic. I mean, it really just shouldn't be there. Um, but we we continue as a society to make race an issue. Not not necessarily always in a negative connotation,
Yeah.
but we make race an issue.
Right.
And for me, I believe that the only way that we're really going to overcome racism is by really putting race aside.
Mm-hmm.
Really just saying, not ignoring the fact that it exists. I mean, there's obvious differences. The same way, someone has long hair or short hair, someone also has, dark skin or light skin or whatever. But to treat someone differently because of the color of their skin is really the problem I think that we face. And ultimately, that's what the Supreme Court decided in Michigan. Michigan passed a law banning affirmative action. Um, there was a time in this country that affirmative action, without it, um, I don't know if we would have been able to progress to the point we're at now, as far as accepting everyone for who they are,
Well,
regardless of the color
just
of their
let them
skin.
have an equal education opportunity. I think that was the idea behind it.
Right, right. Because racism was still pervasive, especially in people in the minds of decision makers, in the minds of employers. There was still a huge problem. And I'm not saying that that problem is gone by any means, but I think, just personally, I believe that we have reached a point where the large majority of the population couldn't care less what color someone's skin is.
Well, I don't know. I see it's interesting. I still see that as a strong thing. Even the other way around. I mean, there are people think that they're better because they're African American. They're better um, because they're Native American. They're better because, and like you, I think when we finally get to the point where on government form it doesn't ask you what race you are, I think we will have arrived. It doesn't matter what race I am.
Right,
And I have put down on mine, what does it matter?
right.
And I know I'm a small drop in the bucket, but I think it. Why would it matter? Why would you want to know what color my skin is
Sure.
if I'm applying or paying my taxes or anything?
Right, right. Yeah, we're all members of the human race, but I still believe that the majority. I don't know. Deep down in people's hearts, I know there's still a lot of hateful thoughts, but I think that I really feel like the majority of people really don't care anymore. We just.
And
I know I don't
did
care.
you find that in Japan that people didn't care
Oh
what
no,
color your skin
no, no,
was?
no. Japan is a. We'll talk about Japan issues another time. That's a
Okay.
that's a completely different situation. But here in the United States, I think we've reached a point where for the most part, uh, we don't we don't look at someone differently. We don't treat them differently. Um, we just don't care.
I like your idea.
Yeah, and I may be completely off. I think that to an extent, I have a tendency to try to see the best in people and assume that everybody is
Same place.
yeah in the same place I am, and I don't know. Unfortunately, maybe that's really not the case.
But it's a good place to start.
Yeah, but anyway, with this Supreme Court deal with affirmative action, honestly,
What did they say? What
to
did they say?
well, they basically said that. Let's see if I can get a quote here from. Maybe it's not going to tell us. It doesn't really give us very good information. But I know that Justice Roberts
Mm-hmm.
uh, wrote the um, in favor, uh, whatever they call that. What do they call that?
Ah, it's a decision. I don't know
Yeah,
what they would call that,
there's
but
there's a word for it, but
there's a
he
long word for it.
yeah
Yeah, yeah.
he wrote he wrote the side that you know that was for supporting this ban, allowing it to stand, and basically he said, you know, racism is being kind of promulgated by this concept that people should be treated differently because of the color of their skin.
Mm-hmm.
And what affirmative action basically has done is said, if we have quotas that we have to meet and we have rules that we have to follow when it comes to hiring, when it comes to admitting people in school, when it comes
Yeah.
to a lot of different things, we have to make sure that we have a certain number of a certain color of
A
skin.
token black, a token
Right.
Native American, a token.
Right.
Right.
Which is just really kind of absurd. I mean, you know, but again, like I said, in the beginning, we really needed it because they were never going to let black kids into a certain school. They were never going to hire a black guy even though he was way more qualified than the other applicants. They wouldn't hire him or her because of the color of her skin, and that was absolutely 100% wrong. That should have never been the case.
Yep.
But now, you know, we've reversed course, and now it's we'll only hire you because of that. You know,
Yeah.
there may be more qualified applicants, and it doesn't matter if they are, you know, Hispanic or you know Asian or whatever. But we've got to hire this African American person because we need one. We have this requirement that we've got to have one, so we're just going to hire him. And you know, I don't think anyone really wants that. You know, ultimately, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think the person that I don't think that African American person that worked so hard to get to where they are and have the qualifications that they do, they don't want to be hired because of that.
It's been going on for about 150 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Bad.
So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, you know, race is of course rearing its ugly head again, racism,
Yeah.
and we're trying to deal with how to figure it out. And but yeah, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the change to the Michigan Constitution that forbids public colleges to make race, gender, ethnicity, or national origin a factor in college admissions, um, they ruled that it is constitutional and that it and basically, I mean, there's nowhere else to go now. At this point, now any college that wants to do that in the country can do that and say, look, the Supreme Court said it's okay. Um, my hope is that race will become a non-issue, that it won't matter, that they won't care. I think that's kind of a, you know, there's that TV show, the singing show, The Voice, and I don't I don't really watch a lot of reality TV just because it's television. It's scripted. You know, I mean, they're
So you're not believing any of this? Oh, this just happened thing.
no,
Huh?
of course not, of course not. And I actually went and tried out for American Idol a couple of times, so I've got some stories that we'll talk
Oh,
about one of these
cool.
days about that. But
That's a good show, though. The Voice is a good
yeah,
one.
yeah. But the best thing I like about that, and again, we don't know how staged it all is, but the concept is their backs are to the singer, and regardless of what they look like,
They don't know.
no one knows.
Yeah.
They choose them based on their voice.
Which is a real interesting concept if you
great.
think about it. Yeah.
It's great. Everything should be that way.
Because American Idol, when you look, that started the thing. In fact, they called that the Battlestar Galactica, kind of a starship. What? No, that's not what they called it. They called it the. They
What?
call the. Oh golly, if the word could come, the planet. Remember in Star Wars, the planet that was the Doomsday Planet. What was that called? I can't remember. Anyway, that Doomsday Planet is what they used to call American Idol because it just wiped everybody else off the board as far as people watching it. It was just over the top.
Right.
But again, we learned something in this: how someone's dressed, how they looked, has an effect on what you're judging.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I hope that eventually, as a society, we can get to that point where we're judging someone based on their character. I mean, that's what Dr. King wanted. He wanted us. He wanted people to be judged on the
Their talents, their character, what they've worked hard to
right,
achieve.
right, who they are instead of what they look like.
Exactly.
And hopefully, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't seem to be there yet. And anyway, I digress. It'll be interesting to watch these things going forward and see what the NBA decides to do with this owner. I mean,
Can the NBA?
What do you do? I mean, I think that the court of public opinion and boycotting and things like that can have a pretty major impact. But we here in the United States, we don't seem to have the gumption that we used to. I mean, I guess certain groups can get what they want by kind of boycotting or sometimes even bullying. Someone that says something that they don't agree with, and next thing you know, they're picketing and whatever. But you look at the Walmart situation here in the Valley, and that was a very
Heated.
yeah. I mean, it was very hotly contended. I mean, people really felt strongly that they didn't want Walmart in town.
You know why?
Well,
Remember why?
Well, I mean, I think most of us felt that it would have a negative effect on local business.
Yeah.
But I think that the large majority of the people who fought against having Walmart come to the Valley now happily shop there, and that's fine. I mean, it's really interesting to see how that all ended up going down, because the whole argument was Walmart wanted to build a super duper store. They wanted to build a 150,000 square foot monster, and they weren't going to build a building if they couldn't build it that big. Mm-hmm. And so that was the whole argument in the first place. Walmart could have built the building they built now under the old rules, but the argument was, do we expand the building size to allow for a building like this, to allow Walmart to come in? And it ended up going to a public vote, and I think it won by like 100 votes out of like 4,000. It won by 100 votes, or somewhere in that range. Well, then the economy fell to pieces, and Walmart didn't build and didn't build and didn't build, and then when they finally did build, they built a small store. Mm-hmm. A really small store. Yeah. And so that whole argument was moot anyway. I mean, we could have just ignored that whole thing and
but
saved
they might
us.
have, and on the other hand, they might have built a big building, and when the economy fell, abandoned it like they did so many other places.
They could have done that, yeah. And we've all, I think a lot of us have seen the documentaries and things, and what happens when a large Walmart comes and then all the small businesses die, and then and then they leave, and then everything's gone.
Yeah.
We're really lucky here that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can point to one single store in Heber Valley that went out of business because of Walmart, which is
There's
amazing.
A couple. I think there's a couple, but if they were on the line anyway, who knows? It wasn't the economy that drove them down.
Well, yeah, I mean, the economy falling to pieces like it did certainly had that effect on a lot of places. But as far as for me, pointing to Walmart and saying it's been negative, I can't do that at all. I mean, it's brought a lot of other businesses to town, given us a lot more options in what we can buy here in the Valley. And King's is still here. The hardware stores are still here. The auto parts.
That was the big argument, was they were going to just. But I'm not sure it would have been. I'm not sure it would have been the same thing happening had it happened earlier. Had it happened without a fight. You know
we
what I'm
don't know.
saying?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
But things worked out.
Right.
So.
But anyway, back to whether or not we have enough gumption to stand up against something. I just, we seem to kind of just we'll get really upset about something for a few weeks, and then it's just kind of like, all right, I'm tired of this. I really don't have time or patience to deal with it anymore, and so I'll just go back to the status quo. And my guess is that's something that'll probably most likely happen with this situation with the owner of the LA
Unless you
Clippers.
get some people who are really
Get someone powerful enough.
well, but you get people who have an agenda,
Hmm.
who want to push something
Sure.
past what is reasonable, and we have a few organizations who love to do that.
Yeah.
And in California, it's open.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
It'll be interesting to watch that going forward. So for the rest of the scores, Toronto beat Brooklyn. The series is tied 2-2, and Houston beat Portland 120-123. That series has gone into overtime 3 times already, and so they're very evenly matched. And so that's going to be a fun one to watch. But Trailblazers have come out on top 3 out of 4 times so far. So, and we won't get to the NHL right now because I just don't really care. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about my favorite subject over the last 7 or 8 months, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, otherwise known so lovingly as Obamacare. It really has been my life for the last 8 months. And, open enrollment is over. Everybody, we've all seen the president give his victory laps about how many people signed up on the website.
How many people did,
Well, the number he likes to tout is now over 8 million. Unfortunately, we have no idea what that number actually means.
Yeah.
My estimation is that, that basically, we know that number means that that's how many people who registered, who actually got on and tried to get a policy.
Did they succeed?
Those are the numbers that we don't know.
Oh, I see.
There have been estimates as low as half, maybe, I think there have been estimates even of less than half of all those people that actually got a policy. And then the number of people who actually signed up for a policy and then paid for it is even lower than that. And I don't know if we're ever going to get the full story there. Eventually, it's got to come out. Eventually, we've got to know. And it's interesting with the insurance companies. They don't want to release the information either because they don't want to tell their competitors what's going on with their business. So no one really seems to be very interested in telling us anything truthful, which is just how things seem to go. But a couple of things I just want to make sure everybody understands. We are about to head into May, and everyone who signed up for a health insurance plan after the 15th of March has a May effective date.
What does that mean?
That means their insurance will start on May 1st. That also means that they must pay their premium before May 1st, or they will not have insurance.
Okay.
And they will not be able to get it. So if you've signed up for a policy, please make sure that you call your insurance company and pay that premium before the end of the month.
If you don't have it, if you didn't sign up, does that mean you're out of luck?
Kinda. They have what they call a special enrollment period, which you end up qualifying for anytime you have any kind of major life event. And it doesn't have to be necessarily that major, but if you lose coverage, from what you currently have,
Mm-hmm.
then you can go get a plan. If you get married, if you get divorced, if you move, if you have a child, if a member of the family dies and that causes you to lose coverage,
Those are all our
yeah,
special
there are a number
things.
of different things that can qualify you to go get a plan. Um, the website is still kind of an unmitigated disaster, unfortunately.
Explain to me why we
It
have.
pretends to work, but
Jeez.
it doesn't really. A couple of things that I've found in the last week or so. Tried to get on the other day, password wasn't working. Called in to healthcare.gov to get a password reset. Uh, the operator proceeded to tell me that the website was no longer operational and would not be for the rest of the year until the next open enrollment period. And I said, what do you mean? Like, when did this happen? Because I was panicking. I was like, well, how am I supposed to make changes to people's policies if the website doesn't work? And she said, no, it's you can't make changes at all. You have to call in to us every single time you need to make a change. And I started to think, I don't think she knows what she's talking about. And so I tried to dig a little deeper, and I had a client on the line with me, so I couldn't be as frustrated as I wanted to be. But I said, well, what do you mean I can't make changes? She said, yeah, you've never been able to make changes. You can't get on there. And I said, I've done this like 10 times in the last week. What are you talking about? And she was so insistent that I could not make a change to a policy on healthcare.gov. And so I finally said, thank you so much for your help. I apparently know a lot more than you do, and I appreciate that. And I got off the line. We were able to reset the password through email and everything, and get that all resolved. And then we got on and we made the change, and everything was fine. So
You're
I
right.
don't
She
know.
didn't know what she was saying.
I don't know why. I don't know how the misinformation is still so pervasive. I don't know why they still just don't know anything. It's unbelievable. And she was like, I've been here since September. You don't know, and I was just like, wow, that's sad.
Too bad.
Um,
Given a lot of misinformation since September.
yeah. But then I got tried to get on a couple of days ago and learned that healthcare.gov has reset everyone's password without telling anyone. They just went ahead and reset every single person's password.
Sorry. I shouldn't laugh because it's not
No,
funny. It's just like, wow, what a catastrophic.
I don't know
mistake.
I don't know what they're doing. So now, all those awful questions that you had to answer at the beginning of the application about, what your neighbor's uncle's dog's name is and all that fun stuff, you got to go try to remember all of those to reset your password.
Oh my gosh.
And establish a new one. So I don't know what they're going. I don't know what they're doing. They're crazy. But it'll be interesting to follow that as things change. Hopefully they will make that process more simple as we go forward, or simple. Hopefully they will make it more accessible to people, and hopefully people will recognize the need for professional advice. I don't really want to use this show too much to say, come talk to me or whatever, but honestly, it doesn't cost anything to talk to an agent. They don't charge you anything. They're not, we're just here to help. We're here to educate. Yeah, we get paid to help. An insurance company pays us. Not a lot, but they do pay us a little bit. And but we don't charge people anything. And
it's good to know we can find information somewhere.
Right. And unfortunately, we've had to just figure it out on our own.
Yeah.
There's been no one to call. There's been no one to ask questions of.
That's the monumental. My question is, if you're going to do something this huge, you need to have the backup to do it.
Yeah.
And to have a business that doesn't know what they're doing, or let's just start with an American company. Let's just start with a company out of our own country.
Right.
To do it.
Yeah, that was really strange that he chose a Canadian company to build that website, and I don't know what they were really thinking. Just the last couple of minutes, we've got a few minutes left, and I guess I just want to talk about kind of what we're trying to accomplish on this show. we really want it to be a positive experience for everybody. Uh, we're gonna have guests on. We're gonna talk to them. We're gonna ask them questions. Um, and you know, we want people to hear both sides of an issue. We want people to know what's really going on. We want you guys, listeners, to. We want you to know. We want you to be able to make your own. We want you to be able to form your own conclusions, form your own opinions. We're not going to try to convince you of anything. Um, we want we want everyone to feel very comfortable about coming on the show. About we want everyone to know that when they come on the show, they're not going to be attacked or accused of anything in any way. We'll ask questions. We'll make sure that if there's something that's concerning the valley that we that we get to the bottom of it. But yeah, we want this to be a positive show. We want people to be able to come here, hopefully enjoy themselves, learn a little something, hear kind of different sides of an issue, know what's going on locally, know what's going on in the state, nationally, and just learn a little bit. That's really my goal here, is just to make sure everybody knows what's going on. I mean, I think that knowledge is power. I think we all need to be more informed. I need to be more informed. I feel kind of silly because for probably the first half of my adult life, I really didn't pay much attention. I didn't really know who my representatives were. I didn't really know who was on the county council or the city council or any. I kind of know who the mayor was, and that was about it. And the more I started kind of having to deal with those people, then it was like, okay, now I need to pay attention to who's there and what they're doing. I mean, I need to know, because we can have a dramatic effect on how what decisions are made in our little town, based on who we elect and who we support
Well,
and
votes count, people say, "Oh, my vote, I'm just one out of," and we have had elections in this county that have come down to one vote.
right, of course,
And so it's just so amazing when people say, "Oh, my vote doesn't count." Oh, it does. Everybody, and something I learned in high school, had a really good high school teacher who made sure everybody realized they had an opinion and it mattered.
right, yep, absolutely, absolutely. So we hope you join us every Monday and Wednesday. Well, we hope you're on the station all the time, but I'll be on here every Monday and Wednesday from 9 to 10. If you want to be on the show, if you have anything to promote, if you have anything you want to talk about, you just want to shoot the breeze with me a little bit, so you don't have to hear my voice as much. Please let us know. Let us know on Facebook. And just the last thing, I asked Facebook what I should name the show. Had a lot of really good recommendations. Some I probably shouldn't read on the air, but I think let's see. Let me read a couple of these real quick just before I let you go. Had some interesting ones. Hewlett Mike Talk. Let's see. A minuet with Mike. I think that he meant minute, but I like minuet. Hewlett, the dog's out. Air Mike. Mike Scuttlebutt. Um, anyway, what's up with Hugh? And the suggestion was that I could answer the phone when callers call in and say, what's up with Hugh? But I think I'm going to stick with just a pretty vanilla Mornings with Mike for now. And so Mornings with Mike will be on from 9 to 10, Monday and Wednesday. And we'll see how it goes. And if people like the show and I'm not run out of town, then then maybe we'll look at doing more. But anyway, thanks so much for being with us, and we really appreciate it. And let's see, we better give you the Carl Malone commercial here real quick. So I'll turn that on and then I'll say goodbye.